Let's add a bit more weight and credence to the atheist position by continuing our online study and research and show why every atheist is justified in dismissing the Jesus Christ story. Here's an essay by Michael Nugent. The title is Did the Historical Jesus Exist? If Jesus existed as a human being and did so many amazing things, surely somebody at the time would have written about him. Well, actually, no. The first time Jesus is mentioned outside the Bible is 60 years after he supposedly died. By then, Paul had already spread the myth of a Jesus that he himself had never met, and the first Gospels may have already been written. After these 60 years of silence, there are 5 early independent reports that Christians most often quote. A discredited 4th century attempt to insert Christian propaganda into a 1st century history book. A passing 2nd century reference to the death of Christ, which gets Pontius Pilate's job title wrong. 2 uncontroversial 2nd century records of the existence of Christians in Rome and Asia Minor. And a claim made in the 9th century that somebody else wrote in the 3rd century about somebody else writing about a solar eclipse in a lost 1st century document. There is no independent record in all of recorded history of any of the following: his alleged bloodline from Abraham and David, his alleged virgin birth, his parents' alleged flight from Herod, his alleged baptism by John the Dipper, his alleged preaching to large multitudes, his alleged miracles, walking on water, reviving corpses, etc., the nature of his alleged trial or death, or his alleged return from being dead to being alive again. Let's go and see another essay that lends credence to the atheist position. Here we're on Religion is Lies, and it says why Jesus never existed. Jesus Christ did not exist. If he did, there is no acceptable evidence for it. And if there is acceptable evidence, then it is too flimsy to justify taking Jesus seriously as a god or wizard. The nearest we get to evidence for Jesus having lived is the anonymously authored and partisan 4 Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. For everything else is far more or could be hearsay than what they are. If Jesus had really been a new messenger from God, had he really been the Son of God, some writings of his would have been left behind. He left nothing at all. There are no writings attributed to Jesus. There are no archaeological artifacts. It is impossible to believe that God would have done nothing to make sure that some direct evidence to Jesus existed. All we have is hearsay. Hearsay isn't always wrong, but it is not very convincing. God didn't ensure that any direct evidence for Jesus survived. Therefore, God doesn't care if we doubt or even disbelieve the existence of Jesus. What is even more incredible and impossible to explain is this: why did everybody forge writings and traditions in the name of the apostles and some other New Testament characters, but not Jesus himself? Even Gnostics never attributed any of their books to Jesus, but to his apostles or some other disciple of Jesus. And Gnostics often believed that Jesus was a vision, seeming to be a man, not a man, and sought direct revelation from him. Yet they came up with no book claiming to be the direct word of Jesus, or even to be something that Jesus had written. If Gnostic and Orthodox Christians believed in Jesus as someone who had been on earth, they certainly did not believe that there was any sensible reason for thinking he had been. They had their reasons, yes, but these reasons had nothing to do with the kind of evidence a detective or historian or archaeologist would consider. The risen Jesus was a hoax. I won't go on any further. Let's visit one more with Julius Caesar, evidence that confirms the existence of Caesar's legion, in stark contrast to the utter dearth of evidence for Jesus. Denham's 222 gives atheists a second powerful and I feel decisive reason why they could be justified and would be justified in dismissing the Jesus Christ story. About a month ago at this time, he wrote to somebody that's unidentified to my knowledge on Aaron K. 1994's channel. He wrote the following: "You responded to my comment on Sir Theist DR's video, to which I could not respond because the weakling blocked me for the second time. The question that he responded to was, can you prove scientifically that Nero existed? No. And then Dennis responded, no, but the historical evidence for its existence does not conflict with the scientific understanding of how the universe operates." And so not only are atheists justified in dismissing the Jesus Christ story because it's based almost entirely, if not entirely, on hearsay, but because it also conflicts with scientific understanding of how reality operates. So not only does it have the element of hearsay, but further, since it does conflict with scientific understanding, science should have hierarchy over history and historic documentations and historic evidence, so to speak, because scientific inquiry and scientific empirical observation should carry more weight. So that gives not one but two powerful reasons why atheists are justified in dismissing out of hand the Jesus Christ story.